Hello, YouTube, and welcome to Level-Headed News. This is your host, Brenda. Articles in this episode for you. Those are in the description of the video for your convenience. Have to do with gun laws, and two of them have to do with the riots at UC Berkeley. Started with the gun laws, and the first one I have here is off of Breitbart.com. Montana AG, Missoula's Bloomberg, supported checks. I'll get it to scroll up here. Here we go. General Tim Fox issued an opinion halting the city of Missoula's background check ordinance on the grounds that they violate state law and cannot be enforced. The ordinance was enacted by the Missoula City Council on September 26 of 2016. It abolishes almost all private sales by requiring law-abiding citizens to undergo a background check when selling or transferring one another. The requirement was supported by Missoula Mayor Democrat, as well as former New York City Mayor Michael Bloomberg, gun groups, action, and every town. To the NRA-ILA, it noted that the state law on cities with charter forms of government, like Missoula, specifically denies such cities any power that or affects the right to keep and bear arms apart to regulate concealed carrying. Since an entity cannot regulate the ability to acquire firearms, sale, or transfer without exercising power that applies to the effect to keep and bear arms, the Missoula conflicts with the state law and is that the language on this subject as contained in Montana state law is not cryptic. Very clear. Montana state law says local governments are denied any power that applies or hang on. Any power that applies or affects the rights to keep, except that local government has the power to regulate the carrying of concealed weapons. Bloomberg supported gun control recently met the same fate as the measures in Missoula. From outside the state secured a narrowly approved background check initiative on November the 8th of 2016. Nevada Attorney General Adam Paul Laxalt halted the implementation of the checks on grounds that they were so there you have that. Interesting to note that if you have similar situations where the next one that we have, tribunist to catch up. TF proposes sweeping rollback of existing gun laws. And fast as he can with his three little legs. For years, the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives have held on to some antiquated gun laws. Some were, at the inception, politically motivated. Now, the number 2 man in charge has written a proposal to reduce gun regulations. It may come as a surprise to some, to others, or to some Democrats who are hoping to at least maintain the status quo. All of the points in the new proposal are backed up with the evidence to justify the changes. The little hamster's running. Says what's being proposed? As the Washington Post reports, the 11-page white paper titled Options to Reduce Firearms Regulations by Ronald B. Turk, Director and Chief Operating Officer of the ATF, moving restrictions on the sale of gun silencers, gun dealers to have more guns used in crimes traced to their stores before the federal government requires additional information from the dealer. A study on lifting the ban or imported assault weapons. Fans of the Second Amendment and restrictive ATF regulations have been watching the groundswell of support for the Hearing Protection Act, pressures from legal restrictions, purchase, and ownership now. The new white paper simply adds fuel to that fire. Silencers are very rarely used in criminal shootings. Given the lack of criminality associated with silencers, it is to conclude that they should not be viewed as a threat to public safety. The point is more complicated and has to do with free market fairness. Gun store owners and FFL holders are not responsible for the actions of gun owners any more than hardware store owner is responsible for what a customer does with a hammer bought in his or her store. The nature of all things gun related has put unfair burden on store owners to defend selling guns to customers who can buy them legally. A more realistic approach for holding dealers accountable. The last big one for collectors and sportsmen alike, importation of certain guns, makes no sense. Some are deemed assault weapons. Those same assault weapons are available here in the States and used for defense and hunting and other sporting activities that don't involve assault. Why would a gun you could buy legally here in the U.S., which is made here in the U.S., be able to import? The question becomes even more absurd. Of these guns are military antiques that were made in the U.S., but left in more than half a century ago, like the beloved M1 carbine, a favorite of military collectors. On import serves questionable public safety interests, are already generally legally available in ownership in the United States. Turk wrote, firearm types are now standard for hunting activities. Placed many limitations on importers, time imposing a heavy workload on those responsible for certifying. While many are applauding the white paper, its detractors. This white paper offers a distributing series of giveaways to the gun industry that would weaken regulatory oversight of the gun industry without consideration of the impact on public safety. Vice President of Guns and Crime Policy at the Center for American Progress told ATF has long described its regulatory function as a core part of mission to fight gun crime, to provide reducing perceived burden on the gun industry over interest in protecting diversion of firearms, Parsons said. I had on the gun laws. The next one we have is off of the Conservative Tribune, and it says Milo book sales skyrocket in Berkeley and blame him. At the University of California, Berkeley, mere protesters once fires set and innocent people were assaulted. Controversial conservative speaker Milo Yiannopoulos Wednesday night. They seriously miscalculated the effect of their efforts. Milo into a veritable exile of silence in the political wilderness, as they hoped. The rioters only succeeded in bringing more attention and popularity to the bane of political correct progressivism. In fact, Zero Hedge, the pre-order sales for Milo's new book, Dangerous, roughly 12,740%, vaulting the book from number 642 to the top 5 of Amazon's bestseller list. In fact, the book isn't even going to be released until March 14th and has received minimal promotion from publisher Simon & Schuster. That Threshold Editions, a conservative-leaning subsidiary of Simon & Schuster, has yet to comment on any appearances Milo will make as part of a promotional tour. Sadly, while his new book have soared to unheard-of heights, the publisher has nevertheless been hit with a flurry of liberal intolerance against Milo, with threats of boycotts, already planned books, and bookstores refusing to pre-order the book or even offer. And there's video in this if you care to pull that up to see the video. And I'm trying to get it to scroll on up here. Shucky darn, come on. Okay, Breitbart noted that Milo's book, the #1 spot on the bestsellers list briefly, which must have absolutely maddened the anti-fascists using fascist tactics to silence voices they don't agree with. Times have changed in America thanks to the election of President Donald Trump, and the angry leftists are only becoming more angry and volatile as they slowly catch on, which, while dangerous to those who get caught by their rage, is only damaging their cause further and helping those who align with Trump like Milo. Rioting and threatening death and destruction upon Milo and his fans would shut him up for good, they were sorely mistaken. Tantrum only served to act as a bullhorn to amplify and prove correct Milo's message about him. The final article I have in this episode, this is off of the Ralph Retort. First on TRR, a UC Berkeley rioter has been exposed, and he's a staff member. File this under things I'm not shocked to see category, as it turns out one of the Antifa attackers from the Milo Yiannopoulos event in California the other night has been identified. It was a paycheck from the UC Berkeley. Shocking, I know. Well, at least one thing is surprising, that he's this stupid. If you're going to brag about your assault activities, it's best not to use online accounts that can be traced back to your real name and occupation. I would have thought like this in Antifa commie class. And there's some tweets. It says, Dave Darker, the guy that written this, says, hey, I live in Europe. Me and the UC Berkeley, yet somehow I'm better at your job than you. Let me explain. I was asleep while all this was going on, woke up to it, heard what this guy had done, investigate. And there's some what took place at Berkeley. It says, whoops, too far. Okay. Dabs tweeted, so this guy, he was in a group of 4 to 5 who were standing against the barricade protesters as we marched past. And I'm trying to get to scroll. Silence is all about. See, either scrolls too much or not enough. Come on. Work with me here. Body punches, then take him to the ground. Eugene Dabbs says, some good Samaritans come and pull me off him. As always, cases, I take a couple weak shots to the face. It was worth it. I'll never forget that dude falling over that bike wheel. For it to scroll, come on. Sure. What more did you learn, Pave? By the way, I will excerpt some photos below the tweets. on here and says, I was asleep while all this was going on, woke up to it, heard what this guy's done, and decided to investigate. Quick search Facebook under handle leads you to hear, giving both his location and much more. It's got his ID and everything, then his contact info there at you can then do a simple Google search of his name and the word Berkeley, you get to his page. Find the information. Kind of looks like he's employed by the university to me, and he's got screenshots of the information there showing that Ian Dabney Miller works at UC. It says, looks me as well. I wonder if that place will actually take action against Ian Dabney Miller. Probably not, but maybe we can shame them into it. Also, this idiot has since put his Twitter account on protected status. Yeah, like that's going to do him a lot of good now. And there's some more tweets here. I'm going to help you now, Ian. You've been identified for real. Update. I would be remiss if I left out some gems coming from CNN and the Young Turks over the last couple of days. Apparently, if you drink their Kool-Aid, the riots were the work of right-wingers who infiltrated the peaceful resistance in order to make them look bad. I wonder how they will try to spin this new information. Actually, they'll probably just ignore it. And there's some video. Another update, it says he allegedly gave an interview to the New York Daily News, which is about the dumbest thing in the world. This places him directly at the scene. It also says he is a current staffer with some confusion over, since we only have pay stubs going back to 2013 in our search. I can't make this stuff up. Says Ian Miller, Berkeley staffer who attended the demonstration, said cops in gas masks and their helmets began firing plastic discs at protesters as the fire licked against the student union building. The fuel started pouring out, set it on fire, Miller told the Daily News over the phone. It got really hot. Berkeley has responded. They say they're aware of the allegations involving UC Berkeley employee and are investigating them. Believe me, we'll be keeping our eyes on their claims. There's tweets of that as well. Oh my. Stuff up. Imagination, but I can't even go that far. It looks like that's the end of that article. So there you have that information. I've got some more episodes for you this morning, so I'm sure I'm sure there'll be more entertainment. If you like what I'm doing, give it a thumbs up, share it on social media so everybody gets to hear the news. And if you haven't subscribed yet, try that. That way you'll stay informed.